Okay, so now you have your part one done. You've got your website. You've submitted your URL to me. And now we can move on to part two, which is the content side of things. This is research. And in this part, you actually populate your website with the information that you gather during your research part of this um, assignment. So now I'm going to explain a little bit about what needs to go on the website and what this research part is all about. So what do you need to do? You begin by selecting a teaching area that you're interested in. And by teaching area, I mean, as it says on the slide, rather broad, like arts, English, mathematics, science, physical education, or anything else that you're interested in. So you don't need to go into specifics. Once you've selected your teaching area, you start researching how other teachers in this particular teaching area are using technology. You need to find out what technologies are being used, how are they being used, what have people learned using these technologies, what is there any research outcomes, all that sort of thing. So you need to find three different types of evidence or resources that explain the use of technology in your selected teaching area. The first one of these is scholarly. So that would be a journal article or a conference paper, and you can find these by using library databases. So say that you're interested in English, so you need to find a journal article or a conference paper that examines or investigates the use of technology for teaching English or for teaching mathematics or whatever your area. At least one. You can, of course, look at more than one, but one is required. A second source that you need to look at is a web resource. This is a less formal one. It would be a website, a blog, a wiki, or another type of web resource where education professionals, teachers, or instructional designers are talking about how they are using technology in your selected teaching area. For this, you can use a Google search and expect to spend some time finding these resources and evaluating, going through them, and choosing the ones that you want to include in your assignment. And finally, you need to find a video or an audio file. That could be a presentation, it could be a lecture, it could be an interview, anything, a video of any kind. And here I recommend you make a Google video search, spend some time with YouTube or TeacherTube. I'm not sure if you're familiar with TeacherTube. It's like YouTube but for teachers. So that's three different types of sources that you need to find. So expect to spend some time finding these resources and not just type something in a Google search and pick the first one, because it's not really going to be very good that way. So once you've done your background research and you've found your resources, minimum 3 different types, can be more than 3, link these resources on your website. So if there is what I mean here is that you don't just explain what you found, but you actually provide a link so that a person who visits your website can have access to those same resources. And not only that, but I'm also asking you to introduce these resources to your reader by writing a paragraph or two where you explain what these examples are about, sort of annotate them, explain what's happening, what were those examples that you found, what technologies were being used, and how, and just give a little blurb about that. Followed by a discussion where you sort of evaluate these examples. What were the advantages and disadvantages? What was successful and how could it be improved? What was the classroom experience like? Those kinds of things uh, about your examples. And finally, a third little paragraph where you reflect on what you have learned from these examples. All this needs to be on your website. Once you've got all that in place, we move on to part 3, which is where we practice peer review. So to do this, once you've got all your content on your website, you book a peer review. We have this information. There's a link in the LMS that says, I think it says something like peer review booking or something like that. What it is a link to a Google spreadsheet that looks like this, and this is a spreadsheet that everyone can edit. And what you put here is your name, first name, last name. You write your website URL, and also include your email address. This is really important, and use an email address that you actually use, that you also remember to check, because you are going to give and receive your peer feedback to this email address. So that's why it's really important. And once there's some more names there, you can start adding your name as a reviewer for somebody else. So there's a slot for 2 reviewers. So you need to choose two websites to review. So the first one who adds their name here will not be able to add their name as a reviewer to anybody's yet. So you need to keep coming back here and checking if the URLs are already there or not. And do not start using the reviewer 2 slot until reviewer 1 is full. So ideally, everyone will give feedback to 2 people and receive feedback from 2 people. As I said, you will provide your feedback via email. And remember, it's supposed to be constructive feedback. So in the feedback, you could think about what was good about that website and what could still be improved and how. So quite simply, that. And you will find the email addresses in the booking spreadsheet that I just showed to you. And this is important. Please copy me in so that I will see that you've given your peer feedback. This is even more important when we get to task 2, because there it will form part of your assessment. So once you've received feedback from others, you can reflect on your work and make changes to your websites according to the feedback. And once everything is done, you submit your completed marking rubric on the LMS. Finally, if you have any questions about this task, the primary forum for asking the questions would be our discussion forum in the LMS, or task 1 discussion forum. The reason I'm asking you to ask your questions here rather than sending me email is that here everyone else will have access to the answers as well, and I don't need to answer everybody separately. So any question that you have about task 1, please submit it here, and I will answer your questions in the discussion forum. And of course, if you have ideas, comments, this forum is open for any sort of discussion around task 1. Okay, so that's all about task 1, really, all 3 parts. I hope it makes sense, and if it doesn't, please don't hesitate to ask your questions in the discussion forum. Okay. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing your websites. Bye for now.